this point, I'd like to read a letter dated October 5th, addressed to the Executive Council. Dear councilors, pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 27, Section 4, I am pleased to nominate for reappointment Tina Hurley as a member of the Parole Board to a term expiring on June 1st, 2024. Sincerely, Charles Baker, Governor. Before we hear from you, I know you have some distinguished folks here, and I have a witness list. So the first witness we'll hear from is Lee Gottenberg. Is he on WebEx?
Sure did.
But I can't hear him.
Actually, I had pared my list down because you had mentioned that I should only have two.
Yes.
So he did write a letter in support.
Okay, I have his name down here.
You do?
This is what you provided.
That's fine.
That's what she, okay. Excuse me, at this point, you can call your first witness.
That would be Dr. Charlene Bonner. Counselor Iannella, thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Bonner. I didn't notice you were here.
Thank you, Chairman Iannella. Good morning, distinguished members of the Governor's Council. It is my pleasure to be here today to testify on behalf of Tina Hurley. And I'll just, I'll have to say, but I'll cut right to the chase. I've been on the board since 2011. Tina's been with the agency for over 30 years. She's held every position imaginable, including management positions, parole officer position, and her dream was to be a parole board member. So she gave up union protection to be a parole board member. She's undeniably competent. I mean, she takes each case, and applies the legal standard with a very critical analysis. I think what's most impressive about Tina, beside her level of competence, is how well liked she is by the agency at large. When people knew that I was testifying for her today, they wanted to be sure to say this, that, the other thing. She's the heartbeat of the agency. She is somebody who treats every single employee with respect and dignity. And I should say a few things about her job in itself as a parole board member. These cases, it is very easy to become desensitized. We hear the most horrific things all day long. Tina is not. Every case that we sit on with her, and I think Board Member Coleman would agree, it's like her first case. She applies such effort, such compassion. I've been in hearings with her where she'll deny somebody and they'll thank her. I get chairs thrown at me. She's been, true story. She gets thanked. It's the way she approaches people. It's the way she treats people that is most impressive to me and our fellow colleagues. I want to repeat that she wants to be a parole board member. This is where she wants to end her career. I share that as well. And it is really good for the agency to have people on the board who that's what they want to do. I did ask Tina a while ago. I think I was probably 2012, 2013. I'd heard so much about her and her management style and how well liked she was. And I asked for her advice. And she simply said to me, if you treat employees like they make a difference, they will. So it stuck with me. So I'm going to end with this. Tina loves the agency, and the agency loves her back.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Charlene Bonner? Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Chairman.
And we'll hear from your next witness. Yeah, okay. Councilor Devaney.
I just want to thank Dr. Bonner for your leadership as a chair. And support of our chair here today, and we believe that you should be returned. You did a wonderful job, and we think you should be back as chair. Don't want to embarrass you, but we have to say it. And your testimony means a lot to all of us.
Thank you very much. Your next witness?
Attorney Patricia Guerin,
Okay.
should be on WebEx.
Yes. Hello?
Oh, this year's.
Oh, it's your reading.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is so nice to be here today in support of a wonderful parole board nominee. I don't often play that role, but boy, was I happy that Ms. Hurley asked me to be here today. She brings something so unusual to the board. We haven't found it in other people in such a long time. She brings a history. She brings a belief in parole that she has held since she started here, almost fresh out of college, 35 years ago. She started as an institutional parole officer. She has worked for clients every day of her life since then, but she has also worked to push public safety at the same time. As other members have stated, she is able to get along with just about everyone. You will not hear anyone talk about her being a divisive character, as you will with other members of this board. You will not hear people talk about her getting angry or getting upset or leaving arguments unresolved. She works to get to the right answer of things, and she does it with patience, she does it with intelligence, and she does it with caring about the prisoner that she's dealing with, caring about the person if they are a parolee facing a revocation, but she also deals with caring for the advocates and the adversaries. She reaches out to everyone, she gets along with everyone, but she constantly moves this agency forward. She has developed program after program since she's been there. She was director of the women's group. We didn't even have such a thing at Parole before as somebody who could push women's issues. She was a hearing officer for 7 years. She learned the law as a hearing examiner. Hearing examiners deal with the law every day. She did that. She learned it. She is constantly learning, constantly growing, and constantly making this agency better. She wants to be a parole board member. She's not using this as a stepping stone, obviously. She came here decades ago to work on parole and improve it, and she's been doing it every day since. The advocacy community is behind her 100%. Everyone who appears in front of her comes away from the hearing saying, wow, was she prepared? She knew everything about my client. She asked every probing question that she could ask. She left every stone covered, no stones unturned, everything resolved, everything out there. And the one thing is, as Dr. Bonner said, our clients know that they got the genuine deal when she gave them a decision, whether it was what they wanted or not. It was helpful. It moved public safety forward, and it helped that individual. Could not be more happy to testify for anyone than for Ms. Hurley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Councilor Devaney. Yes.
It is, Patty, it's so nice to have you on our side this time. But you know, what you brought up is a lot of people don't know the experience, 35 years. 35 years. And I just want, I really appreciate you coming because I know how much time you and your students take. And your testimony means a lot in favor of this
Thank you.
nominee.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, hold on. Councilor DiPaolo.
Thank you, Attorney Guerin. Really quickly, two things. First, strike that actually. So, actually, Counselor, I've reconsidered. I don't have any questions. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. At this point, we'll hear from, thank you very much, Patricia. That
Thank
will
you.
exhaust the witnesses. That will exhaust the witnesses. At this point, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that will exhaust the witnesses in support. Is there anyone here in opposition of your nomination? There being no one in opposition at this point, we'll hear a brief presentation as why you think the council should reappoint you as a member of the parole board.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, good morning. My name is Tina Hurley, and I'm up for reappointment to the Massachusetts Parole Board. It's an honor and a privilege to speak to you today. I want to begin by thanking Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Executive Director of the Judicial Nominating Commission, Green Petrigno, and finally Chief Secretary Pierce for submitting my name for reappointment to the parole.
Good on.
I also want to thank Administrative Secretary McCarthy for the behind-the-scenes assistance, as well as Chair Maroney, Executive Director Keith, my fellow board members, and the staff at the Parole Board. Without all of you, I would not be here today. I also want to thank the Governor's Council for considering my nomination, Counselor Iannella, and my guest speakers, Dr. Bonner and Attorney Patricia Guerin. As has already been mentioned, my career began in corrections as a co-op policeman from Northeastern University. It was actually about 37 years ago. My entire professional life has been since focused on public service, parole, and reentry initiatives. While my experiences are diverse and wide, my career path has been focused on criminal justice reform from the start. As a parole board member since 2014, I've learned firsthand that parole is a difficult field, and it's extremely difficult to serve all of the stakeholders fairly. In making parole decisions and clemency recommendations, I believe that experience, good judgment, good character are all critical. Having someone who's fair, ethical, respectful, optimistic, caring, and careful is equally important. As we're all aware, no one can predict human behavior, but I stand before you today with over 30 years of experience in parole, prisoner reentry, juvenile justice, and human services. I bring a solid foundation to informed and sound decisions. I also know that informed decision-making is guided by the expertise and knowledge of the agency's incredibly dedicated staff. I also have a deep appreciation for the critical role that victims play in the parole decision-making process. While at the Department of Youth Services and as a board member, I've been responsible for the interests and concerns of victims are considered and incorporated into all decisions so that communities remain safe. I've worked with diverse and specialized populations, including adult male and females, juveniles, substance abusers, the mentally ill, the elderly, and sex offenders. I have a deep understanding of these groups because of my many years working with them. I would not be here today without the love and tireless support of my kids, Megan and Liam, my sister and wing woman, Colleen, my parents and brothers, my Aunt Kate, my friends and mentors. They fill my heart with so much joy, and they keep me motivated every day. I also want to thank Associate Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court, Maureen Walsh, who had hoped to be here today, but she has an illness. Judge Michael Pomerol, retired Director of Inmate Legal Services for the Middlesex Sheriff's Office, and former parole board member Lee Gartenberg, former parole board employee Diane Burstein, and Commissioner of Probation Services Ed Dolan, and retired Judge John J. Curran. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Councilor Eileen Duff.
Thank you. I wrote down that quote, "If you treat employees like they make a difference, they will." We've heard a lot about how it's been the last couple of years. What would you say the state of general morale is?
I would say it could be better. I think we've had a lot of trials and tribulations over the years. I mean, obviously, I've been there for a long time. You know, we've been through the Sinelli situation. We've been through layoffs. We've been through staff furloughs. We've been in receivership. You know, I feel like we're only as good as the staff that support us and look good and provide us with the information that we need to make, you know, good decisions each and every day. So my short answer is it could be better.
Well, I'm a strong believer in, I have a master's in organizational development, and the way people run their organizations, they talked a lot about the fact that you have good management skills, and your relationships with, you're only as good as your people, right? And if you don't keep your people happy, that's the key to the whole thing, in interacting with them, eating with them, being with them, you know, making sure everyone understands that they're really a part of something that's much bigger than all of us. So thank you for that. How would you say your prior experience in different positions at the parole board and the DYS has been helpful to you in your current role?
Well, having been a
And of youth services.
time, it was a little embarrassing having to mention how many years I've been with the parole board, but you know, I've worked under 7 different governors. I've worked under 9 different chairs. You know, my experience encompasses what I would call the 4 corners of parole. So when I say that, I mean that, you know, I've been involved in direct supervision. I've worked in the institutional setting for many years. I've prepared literally thousands of cases for the parole board. I've made recommendations to the board. I've developed prisoner reentry plans. I've implemented those plans. I've also worked out in the community. As was mentioned earlier, heading up a reentry program for women offenders. I've been involved in program development for men and women, reentry programs for juveniles. I also procured the funding for the first ever victim services unit at the Department of Human Services. So I'm very familiar with developing programs and instituting them. I've also been involved in a high level at the administrative level. I was the director of the Transitional Services Unit. There were 100 staff assigned to that unit. They work in the 40-plus state and county correctional facilities, so they prepare the case material that the board reviews and uses to make a decision. At one point, there was a staffing shortage, and I was directing the Transitional Services Unit, the Life Sentence Unit, the Reentry Unit, and the Victim Services Unit. So I think I have an ability, hopefully, my track record demonstrates that I'm able to sort of work on both sides of the fence, see all of the issues and be sensitive to all of the issues. Listen to everybody that's involved here, all sides, and then make a decision accordingly.
Well, one of the things that you bring that, you know, you made a little bit of light of being there so long, but you bring institutional, and we lost a lot of institutional because we had people forced out, we had people retiring because of it's a great work environment. And that is to the detriment of the Commonwealth, not just to the people at parole and morale, but that's to the detriment of public safety, frankly. And so your institutional knowledge, I think, is incredibly valuable. So thank you for wanting to serve this. And given the fact that you've been there so long, how do you keep it from being monotonous? How do you keep yourself fresh? How do you keep yourself up, you know, skills fresh and relevant in what you're doing?
I guess, you know, I take this work very, very seriously. I take the fact that I'm representing the parole board seriously. I'm representing the Commonwealth. I take it very seriously. And we do, I mean, the work that we do is pretty awesome. We're making decisions about somebody's suitability to be released back into the community. I mean, that's a big, big charge that I don't take lightly. Every day is different. Every day is new, it's a challenge. A lot of the people that come before us, this might be their very first time appearing before us, and it may be their last time. So, you know, I want to be at my best. I think as a group, the parole board members, we all want to be at our best to make sure that, you know, we conduct fair and thorough and respectful hearings. So, I mean, that's what keeps me motivated. Obviously, the staff, I have a long history with the staff.
You're well respected.
They're motivated, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I do, you know, I don't hear from any board members, frankly. I think everyone just wants to keep their head down. But I do hear from staff frequently. And I actually got a text yesterday from someone, and these are people I've never met. I find it fascinating. I guess they watch and they follow, but she spoke, I'm assuming it's a woman, it's a text, they never told me their name, very highly of you. And in that, the one thing they said is that you treat people really well, the staff like you treat them with respect. And you don't, not in that, that fake political way, it's a real genuine, we're on equal footing sort of thing. So thank you for that, because as someone who's been a support staff and somebody who's been in that role, I mean, it makes all the difference. We are only, we're just one piece of the puzzle. So thank you for that. No further questions.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Counselor Kennedy.
I don't have any questions. I would agree with everything that Counselor said. I heard nothing but good things from colleagues and from folks that work there. And what little I've heard, and like I haven't heard much, which is good. So I'll be voting for you next week.
Thank you very much. Counselor DePaolo.
Thank you, Counselor. Good morning. As I said in previous hearing this morning, for our previous parole board hearings, spent days on the phone because I was willing to talk to people, parole staff who were calling me, many of whom didn't even know each other. It wasn't a coordinated effort. It was a sincere effort, and one that I commend everyone who reached out to me about, because it's very scary when you're working in what you feel is a bad environment, to speak the truth. No such phone calls with you, quite the opposite. I had a similar experience as Counselor Duff. Several of the people who I've spoken with previously proactively reached out just to say that board member Hurley is not part of the situation or the experience that they were talking about. I hear that you care about the mission of the board and not the trajectory of your career, which is good. And I hear that you're honest and you act with integrity and you act in the best interest of the Commonwealth and not in your own ambitions or otherwise. So I really thank you for your service. When I look at your resume, I'm very interested in parole board. Spent a lot of time learning about it. I would be embarrassed to be appointed to the parole board because I know how many folks have devoted their career to the important work of keeping our Commonwealth safe and of balancing public safety with opportunity, because that is part of public safety, the opportunity for folks to get on their feet, start making better decisions. All of which is a very long way to say that I support your renomination. I was genuinely terrified about who else would be appointed to parole board that I would have to have a hearing. And so when your nomination was announced, as well as board member Coleman, I was extremely happy for the Commonwealth. So I look forward to voting affirmatively for you.
Thank you very much. Counselor Hurley, they're having issues with the WebEx. Counselor Hurley, yep, thank you. Counselor Hurley, yeah, hold on one second. Counselor Hurley is attending through WebEx. We're going to hear from Counselor Hurley, and you have the floor, Counselor.
Thank you very much. And thank you for doing such a great job as the chairman.
Thank you.
First of all, for the record, we are not related. Is that correct?
It's for a
Problem, Council?
No, with the same last names, I just want to get it on the record that we are not related in any way, shape, or form. That's correct, is that not?
That's correct, Counselor.
Okay. Secondly, I agree with all the things that have been said. We talked on the phone, and I told you that I thought you had been doing a super job. And just as a matter of kind of like doubling down to make sure we have a good chairman, if for some reason Dr. Bonner did not want to take that post, would you be willing to become chair?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. with due deference to Dr. Bonner, I don't know if you heard the first part of it, but it was an if Dr. Bonner was not willing to be the chair again, would Tina Hurley do it? And that is just a vote of confidence that I have in both of you to do extremely good jobs in that post. You've been there, you've done it all. Maureen Walsh is a big fan of yours, and I'm just happy that you were able to get here today, have your hearing, and to know that you're going to be there for another 6 years. I'm going to vote for you as I told you, and I wish you the best of luck. And thank you for doing a great job for the people of the Commonwealth and those who are in prison who deserve to be paroled. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. I'm not sure if Counselor Ferrara is available. Again, there's issues with the WebEx. Counselor Ferrara, are you available? Okay, he may come on. There've been issues with the WebEx today. At this point, we'll hear from Counselor Robert Juvenville.
Thank you. Been there since 1985. I think I have the benefit of having had a parole hearing with you. That was out where in Framingham?
Dedham.
Yeah. And I think you handled yourself as a professional, and you did a great job on that hearing. And I know from other lawyers that have had hearings with you, the same is true with them. So Judge Pomerol called me on your behalf 2 dozen times over the year. And your home counselor is a big fan of yours, but I'm glad you got reappointed, and I'm going to vote for your vote. So,
Thank you, Counselor.
Counselor Devaney.
Nice to meet you again. Thank you for all the time you afforded me. First of all, we're timed, which is crazy. I'm timed, so they'll cut me off, so I have to talk fast. I first want to say, I want to apologize to you. You have served 37 years, and yet your term was 5 years. I want to correct Councilor Hurley. She said you have a 7-year term, but you only have 1 year and 8 months that this council is going to vote. And I'm going to ask the council's support to have an exception and have the governor change that time for a full 5 years that you deserve and make it October 25th, 2027. Okay, first of all, I apologize for the egregious way you were treated. You were given a 5-year term and you have been serving 8 years, 3 years over your term. That is unacceptable for someone who has served this Commonwealth for 37 years and you didn't know. And I'm thinking, putting myself in your shoes, you didn't know when the other shoe was going to drop. Who are they looking for to replace me? 8 years you served. So I think you deserve 5 years from this date. So that's what I'm going to ask the council's support, to ask the governor to give you 5 years. Now, having said that, I mean, you have such support, it's wonderful. And, you know, from Judge Parole and all these, you know, these wonderful people. But what I want you to do is, you've served 37 years, as Pat Guerin has talked about. People don't realize that. So I want you to tell us those positions, before we cut off, how they add to your ability to serve on the parole board. We're talking 1985, people. 1985, and this nominee served over her expiration time 3 years. How disrespectful. So now I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I want you to go through all that experience. And, you know, you've had each of these positions. You've also been appointed to the Governor's Commission on Civil and Domestic Violence, appointed to Governor's Justice and Accountability. So all of these things bring your ability to be the best that you can be on the parole board. So let's go through that from 1985.
All right, when I started as a co-op student. I worked in the research unit, and shortly after I graduated, I was hired to work full-time at the parole board. It was always my desire to get into direct supervision work. That happened. My first assignment was in CCI Gardner. I worked in the institutional setting for many, many years, starting there, but I was also given the opportunity to become what they called at the time a floater. So when the individuals that were assigned to the facilities were out for a particular reason, whether it was a maternity leave or an illness, I would go to that facility, fill in until they were able to return. So it was an opportunity to make my way essentially around the state. I think I've worked at just about every state and county correctional facility. It was an incredible experience. You know, again, I always kept in mind that the fact that I was representing the agency, so I wanted to put my best foot forward and make sure that I was kind and respectful and make sure that I followed up with people. If I told them I'd do something, I always followed through with it. And even if the recommendation I made in a particular case wasn't favorable, I would always give them suggestions about what they could do to work on particular issues and come back to me, and then I would work with them to recommend a favorable decision. So I worked at just about every state and county correctional facility, and as I said, I prepared a ton of thousands of cases for the board. I have lots of experiences. I've worked with internal and external stakeholders. I have worked in the field with this was the first ever reentry program for women, and women are typically an underserved population with a whole host of needs that are different from the needs of juveniles, that are different from the needs of their offenders, their mothers, their trauma histories, they have substance abuse histories, they have mental health issues. They have a lot of different issues that men don't have. So, I mean, that was an incredible experience. We serviced women coming out of every correctional facility, returning to the community. We had a continuum in place, so all of the services and programming that started at the institutional level, they were connected to the services in the community to which they were returning. So I had a good rapport with the institutional staff and the field staff. As I said, I've created programs for men and women and juveniles. I've done a lot of work, obviously doing hearings, so I have a familiarity with that. I was a hearing examiner for quite a few years, making probable cause recommendations or determining whether or not there was probable cause as to whether or not a parolee violated the conditions of his or her parole, made recommendations to the parole board. You know, in my current capacity as a board member since 2014, you know, I conduct hearings to determine whether or not an individual is suitable for parole. So it is a pretty awesome responsibility when you think about it. Over the last year, I've conducted over 1,000 hearings at the state and county correctional facilities. I think I've rendered over 800 administrative decisions. I'm always available 24/7 if, you know, staff need assistance on anything, just to talk, feedback about a particular case, just to, you know, sort of talk through a particular issue and decide what the best course of action is. And as I've mentioned, you know, I've been an administrator both at the DYS and at Parole for many years in many different capacities. You know, I think at this point I'm one of the senior people at Parole, so one of the few that probably, which has been mentioned, the institutional history. You know, I'm one of the people that knows Parole the best at this point. You know, there's no place else that I want to go. Dr. Bonner's right. This is the position that I aspired to. So I'm incredibly grateful that I'm here today. I worked hard, but I've been surrounded by incredible people. So I've been very, very lucky. And I hope each and every day I get up and I hope I make a difference in somebody's life, whether it's just answering a question that seems like a silly question, but helping them to understand the process, whether it's an inmate that comes before us or a victim. As I said, a lot of these individuals, whether it's a victim or an offender, come before us, you know, maybe once. So, you know, we want the experience to be a positive one, I guess. So I think all of those things, I have a familiarity in a lot of different areas, so they
I
prepared
wanted
me for my job today.
to hear from you, you know, the knowledge that you've had in 37 years. First of all, you know, to think that you will wait, you didn't know whether you're going to be replaced. And now you're given 1 year and 8 months, which is so disrespectful. And I can't believe that you would have to come before the new governor and worry if you're going to be reappointed or if you're going to be replaced, and then come before council again to be reappointed. So I'm asking the governor to make an exception. I mean, it was the administration that made the mistake in not appointing you 3 years ago. So why should you be punished and only get 1 year and 8 months in this term? And I think it would be egregious for this council to vote for that. So I'm looking for a 5-year full term that you deserve, and it should start October 25th to October 25th. And that's 5 years from now, 2027. So that's the only fair thing. I don't think you should be punished twice. But 37 years of dedicated service to this Commonwealth. And in my tenure, almost 23 years, no one on the parole board has had their term expire and wait 3 years in jeopardy and then get reappointed for a 1 year, 8 month term. It's putting salt into the wound. And so I feel very strongly about this, and I think that my colleagues would agree that you deserve a 5-year. And that's what I'm hoping that the governor would be realistic. Because we need you to be there, and we don't want you to be in jeopardy, always looking over your shoulder, 1 year and 8 months. So I just want to thank you for all your service. I'm pleased with the people who are here. I'm pleased I voted for these people, okay? I don't vote for all of the parole board members that are there because they don't have the quality that you and these people have and the knowledge. So I'm just so happy that you finally got reappointed, and let's get that 5-year term for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Counselor. I don't have any questions. You've done a great job on the board. I was impressed with the people who came here to speak on your behalf. Good to hear your presentation. Again, once your name comes before the council, should be next week. Again, I'd be more than happy to support you. And thank you for coming, and thank everyone else. And that will conclude the hearing. Thank you, everyone.